I'm Linda with American Patchwork and Quilting, and I'm here with Marie and Vicki from Handy Quilter, and we're going to talk a little bit about using stencils, which are great for beginners, but also very useful for intermediate and even advanced quilters.
That's right. As a beginner quilter, you wonder, I don't know what design to put on my quilt. Right. Stencils can give you those ideas and help you out.
Perfect. But then now that I've got a little experience and I've, used this stencil the way it is many times, how do I kind of advance beyond that?
You'll embellish it.
Oh, what a great idea.
So the quilt's on the wall, the one on your, with the white border, that has this stencil here, which is a basket weave stencil, okay? 2 different sizes that you could use. The one with the baskets, the same basket weave stencil.
Really?
What a good idea. Huh?
That is, but I think the stencil for a basket weave would be a lot of straight lines and stopping.
No, it isn't. So beginner quilters want, something easy, and yet they want it to look like, wow, I really did something awesome, right? All right, so that's the way this one is. So I'm going to move this aside and let's watch the path on how you're going to quilt this. Let me demonstrate this on the finished quilt. To quilt this basket weave, you're going to take the stencil and place it on, position it the way you want it, and then with a, this is an air erase marker, I'm going to mark all of the lines, just the lines. Then when I have the lines all marked, I'm going to go ahead and take a straight line ruler, and we'll just place that down there, and I'm going to stitch a straight line first. So take my machine and stitch down, and now as I stitch here, I'm only going to stitch half of this stipple because I'll come back later and stitch the other half. That's how we get this so that it's continuous. So I need to find a line, a start of a line. There's a start, there's a start, there's a start. So I need to stipple in the direction of one of those starts. So I'm going to stipple down here. Now I'm at this point. Take my straight line ruler and stitch up to here. Then I can stipple and find a straight line. Here's a straight line or a start of that point. And then I can stitch over to here. Now I'm at a point that I need to maybe travel in the ditch, and I can come back here, and from here I can stipple, and I'm going to finish this. And I would come to here, and then I can stitch up here and travel over here. Here's a straight line. Use my ruler, straight line down here. Now I need a path. Stipple, 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 just half of it. There's a straight, there's the point. Stitch down here with my ruler. Now find a point. Right there's the next one, so I think I'll stipple over here. Takes me here, straight line down here. So I'm only stippling half of this because eventually I will come back with these straight lines and it will get me back to here to fill in each one of the half of the blocks.
This is another example of a stencil that you could use as it is.
As it is,
but
yes.
You've done a few other things with it.
So you can use that stencil. You can see that it's quilted out here, but then it's also echoed, and inside a little bit added, little curves, and then some micro quilting. So it's that same stencil, but it's just what you add to it. See, this side you have a curved line, this side you have a straight line.
But it helps that feather really stand.
Yep, and it gives it a different look depending on what you put with it.
And it finishes out that border in this case a little more fully.
Yeah. So then also here you have just using the inside, and using that you could use in another sash, so you would have that same sort of shape repeated in your quilt, or you could just use that as your sash stencil.
Sure, so I can use elements from the stencil.
Right.
Not really always the whole stencil.
Yeah.
So if you're a very beginner, you may want to only use the stencil.
Okay.
And just not add any other elements to it. But once you become more comfortable with your quilting and become better, this is when you start adding that personal embellishment that comes from up here, from your playing around.
Okay. So how do you play around? You've got a great example of it.
I left one of them underneath.
All right, so here is the stencil.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the stencil. Here's what it looks like, just drawn out. So
Okay.
you can draw out what the stencil is, and then just start drawing on the stencil.
Boy, that's over the top, Marie.
Yeah, that's really something.
Well, you can see this one is quilted out here, and again, by micro quilting along the edge of the feather, it made that feather pop, and down the center, which in the design it doesn't have anything, but just add some little pebbles and see what that changes it
That
up.
really does change the design.
So this is quilting on the outside, this is quilting on the inside of
so
that
leaving
stencil,
this-
so it looks like this.
Oh,
So a little
wow.
feather on the inside, okay?
So can you just trace off your stencil and then put it maybe in a sheet protector or something so you can write on it and wipe it off and write on it again and
Right,
figure out what
for
that design's
practice.
going to look like for practice?
Yeah,
Well,
lots
and
of
for some
different
muscle memory.
ideas. Yeah, that too. Yep. Or you could use tracing paper, so there's a lot
sure.
of different ways you could do that.
Wonderful. Now you've got some more
Okay,
examples
got
under
some more
here.
here.
This is one of my favorite. I'm going to bring these out. I just love just leaves, okay? Very, very simple leaf.
Yeah.
Very symmetrical, you know? But by adding,
Oh, wow. That turns it into leaves and feathers.
so you would never guess that that's a leaf.
No.
Because you filled, you know, that's filled in, adding the feathers to
Wow.
it.
Added some little pebbles to
So
that
there's
one.
the plain leaf.
Mm-hmm.
And just even that, just that little amount makes it just pop.
So if you were using this in a quilt and you wanted to add some cohesiveness to the quilting of the quilt, would you maybe combine, say, this in a smaller border and this in a larger border? Would that help?
You could, and you know, stencils, designers create stencils that they will have a border, they will have a block, and maybe even a triangle. So you would have a whole selection that you could use in your quilting and make it all.
And then embellish it as you desire. Oh, what a great idea.
Okay, we have another one. This is a teardrop shape, and that's what the stencil looks like, and that's what it looks like drawn out.
There.
Okay, so this one is...
Wait, before you go there, this, you say it's a teardrop, but yet to me that is a rose. That's a rosebud.
Isn't
Oh,
that-
wow.
see how it
So you see
changed
something
that?
totally different.
Yeah.
And I saw paisleys.
Okay, so this same shape quilted out, you can see here by what you put around it on the outside of it, how you use it in that border.
So that's this design. But then you did an extra echo out here.
And left
Kind of
it
framed it.
unquilted. Yeah.
Right.
A nice frame.
Yeah. And then micro quilting on the outside so that it really does pop.
So there, you know, what you add to the stencil, what you take away from the stencil, what you put on the outside of it, all make a difference.
Or
in
what you
you're
put on the
quilting.
inside. Just look
Yeah.
at this.
Oh yeah, that's the next
Where
design.
this right here doesn't have anything in it.
And
Same.
here, yep, here
And
it's
yet-
quilted with tiny pebbles.
So just feathers.
Amazing.
One last one. This is my
One last one.
favorite.
This one's your favorite, I know.
And it's because the stencil itself is so simple. It's just a circle, and you just draw that on your quilt, and that'll give you the boundary, and then you fill it in. And this one, it's filled with daisies or with just a little poinsettia-looking
flower.
flower.
And you
Okay.
didn't even stitch that outer line.
No.
You really just filled in those
Yeah,
outlines.
It's like a suggestion. The stencil doesn't have to rule.
So
It can be a
the thing that I
suggestion.
found interesting is usually stencils have a name.
Mm-hmm.
The name of this stencil is Scale. Now I would have never picked that to do beautiful
florals.
daisies or
No.
florals, and yet look, it's the backbone of a final finished product.
That's such a great idea. It gives so much more versatility to those stencil
Yeah.
purchases when you can really turn them into multiple designs. Well, thank you so much for the tips on how to use stencils so that I can really get the most out of using those stencils in different ways and tying them together in my next quilt project.